Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping right into a pretty wild place, a realm where reality itself gets twisted by pure emotion.
That's right, we're talking chaos.
Yeah, I mean, think about this. How can a whole superfaction run on literal feelings? Enough to create actual gods of, like, disease and bloodshed.
It's a core concept, and it gets pretty mind-bending.
And what about a god of change whose warriors are frozen in time, like physically stuck, but they can still fight? How does that work?
Tzeentch, always messing with reality. It's complicated.
And maybe the biggest question, why would the absolute best warriors in the galaxy, the Space Marines, just throw it all away, betray everything for promises of power, immortality, only to get warped into monsters?
That's the lure of chaos, power at any cost.
Exactly. So get ready, because we are going deep today. We're going to unpack the ultimate bad guys of Warhammer 40,000, using our sources to explore this massive, terrifying faction, the forces of chaos.
Yep. In this deep dive, we'll look at chaos itself, what it actually is, then its gods, these ruinous powers, and finally, the armies. All the different, frankly, horrifying groups that serve them.
Okay, let's get into it, because this isn't just one army. The forces of chaos, it's like a super faction, right? Mortals, demons, all sorts.
A huge collection, yeah. All serving either Chaos Undivided, that's all the gods together, sort of, or individual chaos gods, and the Imperium. They call them the archenemy, capital A.
The archenemy, and they don't really play well with others, do they? It's pretty much just them against everyone else.
Almost always, yeah.
Sure.
Alliances outside of chaos are incredibly rare.
Yeah.
Now, the really fascinating part, the core idea, is these chaos gods.
Right.
They're not just powerful aliens or something. They are pure emotion, distilled negative feelings from, well, everyone, every thinking being in the galaxy.
So our feelings make them.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
They live in the warp, this alternate dimension. You could call it psychic space or just space hell. It's a mess in there.
Space hell. I like that.
And here's the kicker. Our emotions, human, alien, doesn't matter. They don't just reflect in the warp. They actively create and feed these gods and their demons. They sustain them.
Wow. So the more hate or fear or...
The stronger they get. Exactly. More rage makes Khorne stronger. More despair feeds Nurgle. Scheming empowers Tzeentch. Excess fuel, Slaanesh. It's a feedback loop. A really grim one.
Okay, so our own worst impulses literally build these monsters.
Yeah.
That's unsettling.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the big four then. The main chaos gods. You mentioned Khorne.
Khorne, yeah.
The boss.
Blood god. He's all about war, violence, martial honor, bloodshed,
Yeah.
pure rage. Picture this giant figure on a throne made of skulls. Countless skulls.
And his followers have that chant, right?
Blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne.
Yeah.
Yep. That's Khorne. Simple, direct, incredibly violent.
Okay, then who's next? Nurgle,
Nurgle.
the Plague Lord.
God of disease, decay, pestilence, but also resilience, paradoxically. He's usually shown as this huge, bloated, disgusting figure covered in sores, leaking goo. Oh yeah, flies buzzing everywhere. But his followers, they see his plagues as gifts. They get these horrific diseases, but it makes them incredibly tough to kill. They just endure and spread the love, so to speak.
Spread the rope, right? Twisted gift indeed. Who else?
Then you've got Tzeentch, the changer of ways, the architect of fate. He's the god of magic, sorcery, ambition, change, plots, deception, pure manipulation.
So the schemer.
Absolutely. His demons are often weird, bird-like things, spitting warp fire. Everything about him is about constant change, complex plans, secrets within secrets. Very unpredictable.
And the last one, Slaanesh.
Slaanesh, the prince of pleasure, or the dark prince princess, god or goddess. It's ambiguous of pleasure, pain, perfection, hedonism, excess in all forms.
Any kind of extreme sensation.
Any kind. Pursuit of artistic perfection, sensory overload, forbidden desires, vanity. It all feeds Slaanesh. Very seductive, very dangerous.
Okay, so those are the powers behind it all. But who actually fights for them? Who are their main guys on the ground?
Well, their most favored, arguably most potent, mortal servants are the Chaos Space Marines, also called Heretic Astartes, the Traitor Legions.
Ah, the big one, the ultimate betrayal.
Exactly. These guys, they were Space Marines, the Emperor's finest, humanity's protectors. But about 10,000 years ago, during this massive civil war called the Horus Heresy,
Led by Horus, the Emperor's favorite son.
the very same, he and half the Space Marine legions turned against the Emperor. They fell to chaos, seduced by promises of power, immortality, freedom from the Emperor's rule.
And they've been fighting the Imperium ever since.
Non-stop. They're the Imperium's eternal nightmare, a constant reminder of that betrayal. They carry that hate across millennia.
And they're not just Space Marines in different armor, are they? They've changed.
Oh, drastically. They still have the power armor, the heavy weapons, But chaos, it twists you. Physically, mentally. Many have mutations. They wield powerful psychic abilities drawn straight from the warp.
So they use sorcery, forbidden tech.
All of it. They manipulate reality, summon demons, corrupt enemies. They are brutal, warped reflections of their loyalist counterparts, often much more, visibly monstrous.
How do they fight, then? On the tabletop, in the lore?
Aggressively.
Yeah.
Often quite temperamental, fitting their nature. And they have this key mechanic, this gamble. Dark pacts.
Dark pacts. What's that?
It's like making a deal with the devil mid-battle.
Yeah.
You ask the Chaos Gods for a boost incredible strength, maybe, or uncanny resilience, and you might get it.
There's always a but with chaos, isn't there?
Always. It can backfire spectacularly. Imagine this. Okay. Hypothetical scenario starts 2.00. You're leading a charge. Your champion, your best warrior, makes a dark pact for ultimate killing power.
Yeah.
And maybe it works. He carves through the enemy line. Or maybe the power consumes him. He just explodes in warp energy. Or worse, maybe he goes berserk and starts attacking your guys.
Oof. That's a big risk.
Huge risk. It's the essence of chaos. Immense power, but it's unstable, dangerous, potentially self-destructive. A recurring theme, like you said.
So what kind of units do they usually field, aside from these potentially exploding champions?
Well, your core guys are the legionaries. Versatile, tough, chaos space marines. Then you've got specialists. Havocs are the heavy weapons teams. Raptors are the fast attack guys with jump packs, hitting hard and fast.
Jump packs and chain swords. Classic.
Absolutely. And then for numbers, you have chaos cultists. Basically, hordes of regular humans who fall into chaos. Often used as, cannon fodder, human shields.
Cheerful. And they have vehicles too, right? Twisted ones?
Definitely. Things like Helldrakes, which are like demon-possessed dragons, Defilers that are part spider tank, part demon. It's nasty stuff. Their strengths are definitely melee and psychic powers.
Weaknesses.
Sometimes they can lack dedicated high-volume shooting compared to some Imperial armies. And very heavy armor can sometimes give them trouble, though they have ways around it.
And the different legions follow different gods, mostly.
Many do, yeah. And it really defines how they fight.
Yeah.
Take the World Eaters, they follow Khorne.
Lots of chain axes.
And zero Psykers. Khorne hates Psykers. They are all about pure, frenzied, close combat. Just overwhelming violence. They get blessings of Khorne to make them hit even harder.
Okay. What about Nurgle's guys, the Death Guard?
The Death Guard. They are tough, exceptionally durable, slow maybe, but relentless, covered in filth and disease. Their big thing is disgustingly resilient.
Meaning
they just shrug off wounds that would kill anyone else. Poison, bullets, explosions. They just keep coming. Slow, inexorable, spreading Nurgle's gifts.
Grim and Tzeentch.
The Thousand Suns. These are the sorcerers. Almost every unit has some psychic ability. Their main troops are rubric marines. These eerie, animated suits of power armor containing only dust, but still potent psychers.
Just series.
Yeah, long story involving a spell gone wrong. Very Tzeentch. They also use Zangors, these bird-like beastmen mutants. They're mobile, tricky, hard to pin down, but if you can shut down their psychic powers, they can struggle.
And you mentioned the Black Legion earlier. They're different.
Yeah, the Black Legion is interesting because they don't dedicate themselves to just one god. They draw power from all four. Chaos Undivided, they're led by the big bad himself, Abaddon the Despoiler.
Abaddon. He's the guy who replaced Horus, sort of.
He's Horus's genetic successor, yeah. And the major chaos threat to the Imperium now. Here's a key bit of history, actually. Lesser-known detail starts 4.0, 0. Abaddon, during his 13th Black Crusade, managed to destroy Cadia.
Cadia, the fortress world.
The very one. It stood guarding the main route out of the Eye of Terror for 10,000 years. Abaddon finally broke it. A massive event. It literally split the galaxy in half with a giant warp rift. Changed everything.
Wow. Okay, that's a big deal. And Slaanesh.
The Emperor's Children are the main Slaanesh Legion. They're actually getting a standalone army update soon, supposedly. Famous for their Noise Marines.
Noise Marines? What do they do?
They use sonic weapons, guitars that shoot death metal riffs, cannons that blast deafening, disorienting sound waves, pain and pleasure cranked up to 11. Very Slaanesh.
Okay, so that covers the Chaos Marines. But there are other forces too, right? You mentioned demons earlier.
Right. Chaos demons. These aren't mortals who fell to chaos. These are chaos. Pure warp energy given form and sentience.
Literal pieces of the gods.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
Manifestations of their patron's will and nature. They're created by the guys, can be absorbed back into them. They pop into real space through tears in reality, like the Eye of Terror you mentioned.
And they look like?
All sorts. Depends on the god. Nurgle has Nurglings, tiny, giggling blobs of filth, and great unclean ones, massive, bloated plague carriers. Khorne has bloodletters, and the huge winged bloodthirsters. Tzeentch has horrors that split when killed and the Avian Lords of Change. Slaanesh has demonettes and the Serpentine Keepers of Secrets.
So a whole bestiary of nightmares. How do they fight?
Unpredictably. They can be amazing in melee, devastating with psychic powers, or just debuff and terrify enemies. Most have an inherent invulnerable save, like reality itself struggles to affect them properly.
But they must have weaknesses.
They can lack the raw physical toughness of, say, a tank. And being warp creatures, their connection to reality can be unstable. Morale can be an issue if things go badly. They can literally vanish back into the warp.
Okay. Demons. What else is lurking in the Chaos ranks?
Chaos Knights. Think Imperial Knights, the giant walking war machines.
Yeah.
Now imagine them corrupted by chaos.
Oh, why?
Yeah. Fallen nobles piloting these towering engines, covered in spikes, skulls, dark symbols. Different names, too, like war dogs instead of armigers for the smaller ones.
And they're just as tough.
Maybe tougher in some ways.
Yeah.
4 times the height of a space marine, bristling with weapons, surprisingly fast.
Yeah.
And they have this aura of fear.
Yeah.
Their whole thing is harbingers of dread.
Mm-hmm.
They actively terrify their opponents, causing units to lose effectiveness, flee, and the knights get stronger as the enemy panics. They're designed to be psychologically devastating as well as physically.
So big, scary, and they mess with your head.
Exactly. The downside, they cost a lot of points in the game. Losing even one is a major blow, and they're huge targets. But yeah, incredibly intimidating. Units like the Knight Desecrator or the melee-focused Knight Rampager are terrifying.
Gotcha. Are there any other, maybe smaller factions?
There's the Dark Mechanicum. These are the tech priests from Mars who sided with Horus during the Heresy. They want to merge technology with warp sorcery.
Like demon engines and stuff?
Exactly. Creating truly horrific techno-monstrosities. They aren't always a fully playable separate army in the main game, but they have models in the Horus Heresy setting, and people often convert them. Lots of tech, psychers, forbidden knowledge.
And one more, the Lost and the Damned.
Right. This is basically everyone else. All the countless billions of regular humans, mutants, renegades who worship chaos, but aren't space marines or demons.
So just a massive horde.
Pretty much. A ragtag army, as the sources say. Cultists, mutants, corrupted soldiers. Individually, they're weak, cheap. But the idea is to use them in overwhelming numbers. A literal tide of bodies washing over the enemy.
An unstoppable wave of destruction through sheer numbers.
That's the plan. They often rely on Chaos Space Marine characters to lead them and provide some heavy hitting.
Okay. Wow. That's a lot of different flavors of evil. So we've covered the gods, the marines, the demons, the knights, the tech heretics, the massive crowds. What does this all actually mean for someone trying to grasp this whole chaos thing?
Well, it leads to a really interesting question, doesn't it? Thought-provoking question starts 7.00. Given everything we've said, the Chaos Gods hate each other, they're rivals, their followers are ambitious and self-serving, the power itself is unstable. How do they actually manage to be such a cohesive threat?
Yeah, how do they not just constantly tear themselves apart from the inside?
It's a genuine puzzle. They do fight each other constantly. The great game, they call it, between the gods. Yet, somehow, they remain arguably the biggest single threat to the galaxy.
Despite the infighting, they are incredibly dangerous, constantly pushing against the Imperium, against everyone else, driven by these insane gods. It definitely gives players a huge range of ways to play thematically and strategically.
Absolutely. The sheer variety is one of their biggest appeals. But maybe that internal conflict, that instability, isn't just a problem for them. Maybe it's key to understanding them.
So.
Well, here's a thought, maybe a bit controversial. Controversial conclusion starts 10-0-0. The ultimate paradox of chaos might be this. Its greatest strength, that raw, unpredictable power, the insane gifts from the gods, the ambition it fuels, that's also its greatest weakness.
So the power is the problem.
In a way, the warp is unreliable. Those dark pacts do backfire. The gods' gifts often come with terrible costs. The followers do betray each other constantly, undermining their own plans. It means chaos isn't just pure, overwhelming force.
It's flawed power. Power with a built-in self-destruct button.
Exactly. It's power tied intrinsically to vulnerability, to self-destruction. It's a force that can win battles, even wars, but its own nature might prevent it from ever achieving ultimate, lasting victory because it's always fighting itself as much as its enemies. It's always dancing on that razor's edge.
Wow. Power is weakness. That's definitely something to chew on. The idea that their greatest asset is also their fatal flaw.
It puts a different spin on them, doesn't it?
It really does. Well, hopefully this deep dive has shed some light on the forces of chaos for you, maybe thrown in a few surprises about the archenemy of 40K. What do you think? How does chaos stay so dangerous despite being so chaotic? We'd genuinely love to hear your theories.
Yeah, let us know.
And if you enjoyed digging into this with us, please hit subscribe, maybe leave a review. It really helps others find the show and join our deep dive community. You know our goal. Cut through the noise, give you the key insights, maybe a few surprising facts, and hopefully keep you hooked, even on really complex stuff.
We try our best.
Thanks for joining us. Until the next deep dive, stay curious.